Hi, friends. My name's host Eric. I'm the host of the television program called Talking with Famous People that broadcasts on Channel 6 every night at 7 p.m. I'm also the host of the internet television program Talking with Famous People that doesn't broadcast onto your television, but nevertheless is available for you to view here on the internet. When this band's a rockin', don't come a knockin'. That's the title of this video. It's the title of this live stream. It's the subject of this live stream. When one ought to come a knockin', I guess, or the conditions under which knocking is prohibited, the meaning of to knock, and the outcome of knocking as a general manner of being. These are all subjects that can be discussed today that are appropriate given the title. Rachel is cleaning up right now, which is not very much like her, frankly. When the band lay dormant, come on and storm it, right? You have to rhyme, obviously, Old Mate McGraw, or it doesn't count. So when this band's a dormant, come on and storm it. Yeah, you can storm the band if it's dormant. Otherwise, no knocking. If it's rocking, you can't knock. If it's dormant, you can storm it. If it's swaying, it's okay then. But if the band is a rolling, just go a strolling. Okay, that's important to remember as well. If the band be a driving, don't bother striving, because you're never going to be able to catch up to the band. It's going to be faster than you by a substantial amount, probably. So, these are all good things to have on the back of your band. We do currently have a band. We have a Dodge Grand Caravan, in fact, that we are driving around in. It has yet to rock. I would say it's driven, it's rolled, it's lay dormant. But when it has lain dormant, we've not been inside it. So any storming of it would not bring you to us. If that were the goal of the storm, which one imagines it might have been. So, aloha, and welcome to Talking with Famous People live stream. If you'd like to participate in the live stream, you can do so by typing things into the chat, which I will read as per the previous example with Old Mate McGraw, who said, when the band lay dormant, you may approach. And then follow that up with, shit, my bad. So you too can have your words read aloud on the internet if you wish to type them into the chat. Now, there's no guarantee that your words will be read aloud. Some words I don't read aloud. But if your words have wisdom and power and insight within them, you can be sure they'll be read aloud. And if your words are even mildly interesting, they'll probably be read aloud. We've got 4 people in the live stream now, fairly small group. So if you'd like to do any small group activities, now is the time. That includes Duck Duck Goose, quadrabling, square dancing. Those aren't small group activities, Eric. Quadrabling is. We can't quadrable because we need a total of 4 people. Of course, if we had 4 people here in the live stream that comprise, say, all of Delta Quadra, I could still be here and it would still count as a quadrable because I'm a licensed quadrable observer, which means that when I observe a quadrable, it doesn't disrupt its quadrable ways. If you're not familiar with quadrabling, horseshoes is a small group activity? Okay, horseshoes. Fair. Good point, Jeeves. Horseshoes is a small group activity. Would you guys like to play horseshoes? Ooh, I just got a ringer. I'm so good at this. I'm also good at hand grenades, by the way. So it's Monday. Happy Monday to everybody. I do have a van parked in the hotel parking lot. Indeed, I do, Winston's mom. My foot crossed the line? Damn. We have a Dodge Grand Caravan. That's the car I rented. It's parked in the hotel parking lot here. And so far, so good with the Dodge Grand Caravan. It's been fine. What have we done today? Well, I went downtown to get weed, but I got weed at this store called Empire, which turns out after doing some more talking to people that that you can buy weed here. But the thing is, the weed you can buy here legally doesn't have Delta 9 THC in it, which is like the most THC of them. Now, it's got other THCs in it, but it seems like it's mostly CBD weed. So, I don't know. I'm not very satisfied with the weed I just bought. I'd be better off buying street weed again if I could find it. But the guy I talked to this morning on the street said that he had already sold out this morning. So, it's tough luck for me, huh? Anyway, the weed we got from the weed store there was okay-ish. Do I think weed is an escape? I wouldn't really call it an escape. I'd call it a bit of a reward kind of a thing. Like it's something I look forward to getting back home to doing if I've been away from it for a while, possibly. Or when I roll into the house after I've been out all day, I go, that's right, I just smoke some bongos. And depending on how good the weed is, it's more or less satisfying, I guess. My favorite way to smoke is the bong. In fact, even though I bought pre-rolls, we smoked them in the bong. Not very stony. And that's unfortunate, but that's just sort of life. And it did, if nothing else, satisfy my urge to smoke weed. So.
It did.
That's nice. But anyway, the most important thing so far that we've done today is to discuss the various statuses that a van might have and what one ought to do based on those statuses. So, we recognize now that when vans are rocking, we ought not come a knocking. And that when vans are dormant, it's okay to come stormant. We've also determined that when a van is rolling, best you go strolling. And that when a van is driving, there's no need for striving because you're not going to catch up to it.
Wow, those are really good rules and lessons.
Am I shaking and fidgeting more because of lack of weed? No. I always shake and fidget.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any difference. Maybe if I'm super high, maybe I shake and fidget a little less. But I'm a knee bouncer. I was born a knee bouncer. I'll die a knee bouncer. Looks like we got some cheese here. And just our lunches, not snacks. That's good. All I've got. Yeah, bongs are the most effective way to do it. It's like you burn through too much weed if you smoke joints. If you smoke out of a pipe, you burn through the least weed, but I don't know. You can't really get a bell ringer from a pipe.
No.
When you were a young teen, you would hitchhike to the beach or concerts getting picked up in a van, guaranteed we would party and the van would have a black light.
I think the kind of van makes a difference too. There's just like some van, like, oh.
Yeah. Nowadays, we don't really probably advise people, young teenage girls, to get into renting people's vans.
I have not, and I'm happy that I have not.
I mean, when I was a teenager, one of my friends had such a van as well. It was It was a van that was more or less windowless, and it had a floor bomb installed in the back, which is to say,
Wow.
you had to. It was like 3 feet tall, and it was installed in the back of the van, and you had to like have 2 people to smoke it,
That's impressive.
or very long arms, I guess.
Hmm.
You hope we go into the water at least once. I think Rachel will end up going into the water.
I am, yeah. And if you don't, I obviously don't care. Like
I don't really want to go to the water. I'm totally happy to go down to the pool with you while you go in the water.
That's exactly what I was picturing. I just haven't been in the pool in many years, and I like being in the water sometimes. So
I don't want to could save some money by simply parking at the beach. Because you didn't expect to actually watch the movie? Is that what you're saying, Winston Small? It's very INTJ practical of you.
yeah, I was thinking, I can see INTJs bum rides a lot. I was accustomed to bumming rides with INTJs in my life.
Have you ever realized you will never be able to look at your own face? Well, Davis, they have invented this thing called a mirror that you can use to look at your own face. It may not be direct. Oh, I see. Well, because you're supposed to be fooled by it, Winston Small.
Innocent times are good. Definitely have those.
The mirror lies.
Sometimes it does, not gonna lie. I know like people my age and younger who they don't trust the mirror. They
Take a
their
picture of
phones.
themselves.
I do. If I really want to know the honest truth of how an outfit looks on me, which actually in the movie Clueless, she opened there's an opening scene where she says she doesn't rely on mirrors, she relies on Polaroids. And that was in like '95, something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Mirrors, scales, and therapists all lie. Yeah, well, I mean, I think therapists are risky business in general.
It is. I think
You don't know who you're getting or what they're going to say.
ISFJs are pretty great at that. At least listen. ENFJ counselors are great as well. I have to say they are good.
I mean, therapists are risky because you're trusting them to advise you, and whether or not they actually give, you good advice is another question.
It's difficult.
But you have to sort of assume they know what they're talking about if you want to get any help from them at all. You have to presume that they know how to solve problems with words. Hi, Delilah.
Hey, sorry, I was just going to come tell you 2 things that Granddaddy called and said that the ocean right now is like beautifully.
Yeah, I talked to him about it.
Okay, then did he tell you about the blue house will be indoors now?
Oh, it is?
Because it's raining too much.
Okay.
Which is kind of disappointing because they're nice outside.
They're outside, yeah.
But it's okay.
I mean,
At least we're having it.
it might clear up in the next couple hours. It's only 12:46.
Yeah, but apparently it's supposed to rain at the time, so I think it's
Okay.
they're planning to have it outside. I mean, inside. But I mean, I don't know if it stops raining, if they would like change it back to outdoors. Okay, that's it. Okay.
Make Delilah. Hey, Delilah, Jeeva suggests that we force you to call Rachel mom.
Oh my god.
Okay. Wait, can I answer the topic?
Sure.
Yeah, please. I think that would be so funny.
That's pretty funny.
Right? Like, it doesn't feel like that at all.
Hi, Bacon. How are you today? We are well, thank you for asking. I I'm planning in a little while, not a super long time, I guess maybe within an hour or so, of going to go fishing again, like I did yesterday.
So that would be a good day for me.
Yeah, I think the fish are going to be biting that day. And it would be great if I could actually catch a fish.
Hey, nice Winston's mom. That was real smooth.
So what have you discovered in your search for male ENTPs on YouTube? Winston, well, I'm curious to know more about this. Do you find a lot of people you think are actual real ENTPs, or do you find a lot of people who claim to be ENTPs you don't actually think are ENTPs? Do you find not a lot of people claiming to be ENTPs? What's the deal?
That's why I'm wondering that too, because for INFJ, I always question. I'm like, are you really? How can I take advice if I'm not sure if a person is really? It's a good question to ask. I don't know many ENTPs.
I am using I bought a rod and reel at the Walmart yesterday for like $17. Like super cheap one. Yeah. It included tackle and everything too.
Yeah.
Now the reel part immediately broke, so I'm tossing out the line by hand. But at least it's on a pole. I can't reel it back in, but I can, I can pull it in with my hands. And I'm using I've got some fake bait, like little fish that look like little fish but aren't really a fish, I guess.
Yeah. A lot of them are gummy. Like these chewy things. I found one who looks like an ENTP, and I checked out his playlist. He is a creative teacher and is American, but living in China, or at least he speaks English first, and he looks like you. I mean, there definitely could be a possibility that he is an ENTP.
I mean, that's an ENTP thing to do.
Yeah.
Go to China and teach English or something.
Yeah, I mean, what? So
I went to China and set up the big program and stuff, but that was part of my job here. It wasn't like I went there specifically. But it's easy to get a job like that. You can make decent money in China teaching English if you got it.
Yep.
If you have it as a first language, even basically.
Yeah. Hey, morning, dear.
No, Jeeves, I actually bought different bait besides the one. They did come with the kit, but I bought better fake bait. Yeah, the thing is, I'm surprised that I haven't encountered more ENTPs on YouTube. I can only attribute that to my conclusion that we're one of the less common types, because it seems like a natural fit, right, for any ENTP, and less common types, because it seems like a natural fit, right, for any ENTP and YouTube. I have gone through periods of my life where I'm much more of a consumer of media and much less of a producer of media. You need to consume a fair amount in order to be able to produce it well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, see, I don't know what Jen is up to now on YouTube. I know she's definitely watching it for sure, but I don't know if she actually put up videos and stuff. She did a lot of that on Facebook, like before they had the live streaming on here. They had the live streaming on Facebook, and that she seemed to like a lot. So maybe depends on what social media is being used. I don't know.
I think Tier said he thinks a lot of political commentators on YouTube are ENTP. Well, that makes sense. I mean, it's a TINE area of discussion, politics and public policy and stuff. If you broke the reel, then take it back and get a new one. No, it's not worth it. It's not worth the hassle of going back there.
Did you speak about how the prices weren't on those poles, though?
Oh yeah, like interestingly, like the good poles at Walmart, you had to ask the sales associate how much they cost. It's like, wow, why don't you just have prices on them? So I found one that did have a price. It was like a prepackaged pole and stuff, and I just got that.
Perfect. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, the one EHP that I've encountered before that I know is EHP who's a regular producer in media is named Zero Entropy. But I'm convinced he's an EHP. I'm also convinced that he's got a chip on his shoulder, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's a very plausible reality for a lot of EHPs. That once they reach a certain age, they've got a chip on their shoulder.
I was just gonna ask what age you thought he was.
He's like 40, probably.
40?
40, 45, something in there. That's my guess. A little younger than me. But
Well, maybe he stuff happened to him later on.
I mean, the thing is, YouTube softened me ultimately. YouTube fixed that shit in me. Like, I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder too when I started doing YouTube videos, but it really, I found it incredibly healing. More healing than anything I've ever done before, and more growth producing than anything I've ever done before. But I haven't checked out Zero Entropy in a long time, so maybe he's evolved. But I was struck by the amount of negativity in his videos before.
Wow.
I think it brought on my FI actually,
Yeah.
which ultimately brought on my FB too. But.
Can't that? I mean, like, I feel like doesn't YouTube aid in getting rid of that like madness inside? Like, if you're extroverting intuitively, like you need to get that shit out instead of ruminating and thinking about it. Because I know that like, look, I've been ENTP thinking fucking way too much. I do it myself, so I get it.
Well, the thing is, I also like this way of engaging with people a lot when his mom. But the thing is, I've reached a point where I don't feel like I have a whole shit ton of stuff to say that I haven't already said a lot of times before, which is a strange spot. I just not quite as. I don't have the compelling need I once had to just talk into a microphone and just record my own voice just so I have something. I used to have that compelling need. I used to make videos all the time when I was driving, whatever. I'd make some sort of video and I just need to talk. I have Jordan Peterson, adopt responsibility. Me. Take responsibility for your words. Right. Take ownership of your words. Own your goddamn words. That's right. Hey, the Wagetta, we are your favorite couple. That is so flattering. Thanks. Even more than Princess Diana and Prince Charles?
I think Princess Diana is her own couple.
Oh, is she her own couple? Okay.
Yeah.
I ran Hambo's chart. Wow, he's a Taurus,
Yeah.
but Kiwa's chart shows he must be a Heyoka, an idealist on a spiritual journey. Heyoka, I've never heard that term before.
So, what else does his chart comprise of? Like, what elements mostly? Because if he is a Taurus sun, doesn't mean that he acts like one. That's cute.
Jeebus. She was wrong before. That's all.
Who said that?
The Wagetta said. The Wagetta said that me and Kimberly were their favorite couple too. I'm sure the Wagetta did not say that. But even if the Wagetta did say that, the Wagetta was just wrong before. That's all.
Yeah.
Thanks, big gig.
Ooh.
Yeah, she's right this time for sure. What's your favorite and least favorite astrology sign, Rachel? I'm gonna smoke a cigarette.
I actually do
you take the helm here.
Sure. I actually do have like favorite signs, and I don't think it's fair that I do. Like I grapple with it a lot because I think all the signs do have qualities that I really admire. The ones that I tend to admire the most are Aquarius, because they're very eccentric. They only do what they want. They're very anti-authoritarian. They do what they want all the time.
Fuck authority.
Yeah, and I really admire that. And then my least favorite, this is difficult. I feel bad when I say this, but I do. Gemini is very difficult for me to understand because, like, they have duplicity. So they're not really attached to any one thing or person. So you can be best friends with them, and then 2 minutes later they're talking to someone else like about you behind your back. So I have issues with Gemini sometimes, but that's just me. So yeah, favorite is Aquarius and least favorite is Gemini. Do the signs fall clearly on the months? No, they don't. I found bacon. Look at the 7th house and the ruler, where your Jupiter and Venus for men. So look at the 7th house and the ruler. So my 7th house is Aries and the ruler is Mars. And my Jupiter is actually in my 4th house in Capricorn. So I study this stuff way too much, honestly. So moon is in your 5th house. Make sure you use the sign. What house is your Saturn in? Signs fall around the 20th to 23rd of the month. Basically, Jake Hurwitz. Basically. ISTPs are good stand-up people. They are the, oh, you want me to do this? Well, on what authority and who's the authority? Like, you can't really tell them what to do. They're individualistic. They also are very good with crafting things with their hands, like, yeah, I can't really, woodworking and clay work comes to mind. We entered the age of Aquarius in 2019, FY. That's cool. I'm not they change the date all the time, but definitely are in it for sure. I mistyped myself. I thought I was, but I typed me in the session as INTP. It made a lot more sense. Hey, Mateo Sanchez. INTPs like to be on the computer. Mostly talking to people. Like, I knew an INTP who, in the early days of computers and stuff, he was always in chat rooms talking to people. Sometimes he was trolling, sometimes he was fucking with them, sometimes he genuinely was looking for a conversation. But INTPs and computers, of course, there are going to be some who don't, but that's cool, Angantier. The 5th house represents your daily life. Mine is in Cancer, which is empty. But my moon is in Aquarius, which represents technology. Lo and behold, here I am. Can you tell us what we can expect from this age with age of Aquarius? Well, if you look up what Aquarius represents, you'll be able to see a bit more information on it, but I would say definitely advancements in technology. Expect the unexpected to happen too, because Uranus is the planet ruler, one of the planet rulers of Aquarius, and it rotates backwards. So a lot of what happens with Aquarius is they will do the exact opposite of what they're told to do, not even on purpose, they do. So expect revolutionary changes, but mostly with humanity. Because they care about humanity, but they don't care about individuals. They're the individual.
Can I tell you guys about the incredibly frustrating experience that you set us up? There's a butterfly down there, flying around willy-nilly, randomly, all directions. There are shit tons of big spider webs down there, and big spiders waiting for this butterfly to land in one of their webs. Somehow, despite apparently flying in totally random directions without any sense of where it's going, it manages to avoid every single one of the spider webs. I don't understand how this fucking butterfly is not getting caught by these spiders. What about Ares? Ares is the god of war,
Truth.
associated with the planet Mars.
Truth.
Mars is known as the red planet
Truth.
because of all the blood that was spilled there by Ares.
Exactly.
You're Aquarius. There's no spoon. Well, I don't know anything about astrology either, but I will make up some stuff up for you if you'd like. Being an Aquarius means you really like to swim, and your maximal abilities, you have Aquaman powers. You can call fish over to you.
It's funny because they are Aquarians, right? That's like aqua, but it's an air sign. So instead of loving the water, they like to talk.
I guess that was a little misleading about putting aqua in the word. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Everything in your chart says you're on a journey. I'm supposed to move to a foreign land, but Neptune may get me lost. Foreign lands aren't necessarily physical foreign lands. They're metaphysical foreign lands. I think where you seem to be most comfortable in certain areas of the metaphysical world. Metaphysical world being the internet. Now, you're apparently also somewhat comfortable in a casino because you came home with a couple $100.
Yeah.
That's good NITE on your part.
That is.
Christmas,
Mom.
My NI ignoring caused me to forget that I don't like gambling because I always lose. And then I'll gamble again like a month after I gambled last time. I'll go, God damn it, do not play poker again. You're bad at playing poker. Why do you play? You always lose money. Occasionally I'll go through a little stint of buying lottery tickets too. It's like, no, Eric, this is so dumb. Why are you doing this? I had this book about old tales and weather signs, and it also included personality based on star sign, and I found it very accurate.
It's cool. It's good when you find something that you think is accurate for you.
Now, I want to find out something. I'm going to make up some stuff again and see if it's the same as with Aquarius. Now, if you are an Aries, that means you really like flying kites because there's a lot of air in you. And it means you like to flap your arms and try to fly, and it means you like to blow on things.
I mean, you would think, right?
You would think. Is that not right?
I don't think so.
What kind of sign is Aries? Not an air sign?
It's a fire sign.
Why didn't they call it Fireys?
No, it doesn't.
Why do they want to confuse people like that?
They do confuse people.
I know someone who won the lottery on Christmas Eve, $52 million. Stayed to take it to his chest until the opposite. Then he retired, bought a house on the water, and a very nice boat. Well, that sounds like a good thing to do with your lottery winnings. I would like to win $52 million.
Me too.
Even $50 million is fine.
Yeah, so why not? I take it.
Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius are fire signs.
True facts.
Now, let's do a little astrology thing on my long time but no longer best friend Corey, INFJ, who was a Scorpio.
Ah.
Is Scorpio and Taurus don't get along well, or they do get along well, or
Opposite
what?
signs, they fill each other in.
They fill each other in. Huh?
Okay.
That explains all the sodomy.
See, astrology says things so well.
No, there was never any sodomy. We didn't fill each other in physically. Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra are air signs. Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius are fire signs. The water signs are Earth element is Taurus, includes Earth.
Yeah.
Or Scorpio and Taurus sister signs?
You could say that. They're opposites. So you could say that they're sister signs.
No, it's not very right. It goes more like this. If you're Sagittarius, you're ambitious, lazy, often false. If you live to 30, you maybe also make it to 60.
That's Sagittarius. See.
I take physical action. The possibilities I consider are rooted in the physical the vast majority of the time. Doesn't mean I can't come up with ideas, though. Well, that sounds like 8 Sly. We keep coming back to you being an ESTP.
And what do you think?
You keep trying to say he's an ISTP with non-polar any. He's not enslaved push on the party. Doesn't mean he can't be an ESTP.
Oh, hell. They don't go. Okay, so the ISTPs that I know, I mean, they'll go to the parties, but the parties that they go to are of their, like, closest friends. Like, they're not just going to go to, like, any random place. They go to the same bars. They have friends that they've had since they were little, and they'll only, like, hang out with those people. Like, they're not real partiers, but when they do go to parties, because they're so, like, closed mouth, a lot of women will talk to them. Sagittarius can be lazy, and they can be like false promises and stuff. Sometimes they're very, they have like thoughts of grandeur, and while they mean the best, it doesn't always happen. Earth signs, cradle water, yeah. ECP seems viable, but I'm not super extroverted. That's a big difference between ESTPs and ISTPs. ESTPs are very extroverted. ISTPs are very introverted. You know, like ISTPs can schmooze really well and say like the right things without saying many words, but they're not looking for chit chat really. The ESTPs can chit chat. Taurus is I have, Scorpio is I desire. Ooh. My North Node is in Taurus, and my Scorpio is my South Node, so I get that those statements. Seem to attract fire moons having an air moon. That could be an interior. It's really interesting. I have a fire moon. My moon is in Sagittarius, and I actually attracted the most out of all the moons, Virgo moons. I've dated and have family members who are Virgo moons. More like probably two hands, which is a lot. Virgo moons and Sagittarius do not get along.
I wanted to mention there's a conversation Rachel and I had earlier about something that sort of struck me as a bit of an insight this morning, was that for females like Rachel, like female INFJs in particular, I would guess, they have a challenge because, like ENTPs, they're about statuses and words a lot. But most people in the world don't place as much importance on statuses and words, or don't place more importance on status and words than on realities. And so an INFJ female especially is going to learn to not believe words from men.
Yeah.
You know? And it was a challenge at first between us because she had been trained to not take words very seriously when they're spoken by men who want to sleep with her. But of course, when I speak words, I mean what I say and say what I mean. And there's, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean I'm perfect about following through on everything. Sometimes I suggest possibilities that I say, this sounds funny, that sounds fun, we don't end up doing it or whatever. But when it comes to statuses of things, I'm very reliable. It's like I told her right at the beginning, there's two statuses that are acceptable. All in or all out. There's nothing in between. That's it. And it may not be, in general, a good way to deal with relationships, but I think it's a good way for INFJ and ENTP to deal with a relationship because
I need that.
we both need that. And the difference is, as a female, she had learned that men lie. As a male, I had learned that women couldn't be trusted or relied upon. That they were fundamentally unreliable, basically, because they didn't know how to cooperate as part of a team. That's what I had learned. In reality, it's just you got to find the right kind of person. If you get somebody who's much less or more status oriented than you, then you're going to run into problems, almost for sure, because it's like it's like in my last relationship, I was continually trying to get us to agree on certain words so that we can make progress. But my partner didn't see the words as very important. They were just words. And what was important to her was, I don't know, something other than that. So ISTP has absolutely no ability to come up with original ideas, or is that a misinterpretation? They have an ability to come up with an original idea. So it's like, if you watch the movie that Rachel showed me, 500 Days of Summer, that main character in there is an ISTP, and he works at a greeting card company. And there's a scene when he's really feeling his oats and he's feeling like great, like he's in this relationship, it's wonderful. And people come to him for suggestions, and he gives them a series of singular NI solvencies. Just, yeah, here's the answer. And then somebody else asks him, here's the answer. He's really feeling his ISTP gold, and at that moment, he's coming up with ideas, but they're all the singular best idea for a thing. And they're not a bunch of different ideas. And so it's like certain media are more conducive to that kind of third slot NI ideation, but not many. Most media are much more conducive to extroverted intuition. So ISTPs are very unlikely to be artists. Doesn't mean it's impossible. It's a very poor job for an ISTP to work at a greeting card company.
Yeah. You see that in the movie. I definitely would recommend that. If you're like,
good movie.
Yeah, you're right. It's a good movie. And if you want a good example of an ISTP male, that's a great one. Great example.
Isolama asks, do you know my cousin Jeltsin? He lives next door to you?
That is not nice.
Who's Jeltsin? I don't understand. I don't get what that means.
Doesn't sound nice. Yeah, what do you mean by that?
I don't know what that means. So astrology sounds fun. I'm interested. TFW, you replace MBTI, obsession with astrology obsession. Well, I think cognitive functions they're a lot easier for me to get obsessed with because there's a logical mechanics to explain them. Astrology may be accurate or inaccurate or whatever you want to say about it, but what it doesn't purport is to have a mechanistic explanation of exclusivity that is, that links to anything other. It links to a physical point, namely stars and stuff like that, but there's no explanation as to why the stars would impact people's personalities in the way that astrology says they do. So, whereas cognitive function has an explanation as to why. So it's more in my wheelhouse. I'm not dissing astrology. I'm just saying it's a different kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, so I grew up with astrology. I had a grandma who taught me about the sun signs. And then I dismissed astrology for a very long time. It was like, no, screw that. That doesn't make any sense. It's not true. I don't follow my sun sign, so astrology can't be true. And then I kept on going in circles in my life and was like wondering why I do certain things. And then I went to Cafe Astrology and like got my birth report, and I saw some things that I didn't like in there. But then there were stuff that I was like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. Thank you like for describing that. But now I'm like at a point where I've done a lot of studying on it. Like I really went hardcore in like 2015. So 2015 to now, I'm like, I still research it because it's fun for me, but I take everything with my own perception because I can't focus on it too much. It just me crazy.
I mean, my take on it is, I suspect what David Sanderson is going to say here, I haven't read it yet, but is that there are a lot of explanations because my planet is in Nya, or my house is in Nya, or whatever, right? So, David Sanderson says there's no ultimate explanation for everything because we can observe the natural world, but beyond that, we can't really observe the metaphysical world. So what basis is there for accepting the notion? Well, that's absolutely untrue, David Sanderson. You can, of course, observe the metaphysical world. You're observing it right now. I'm observing it, and I read that comment, and I'm able to critique that comment and say, no, in fact, this is objective data out there for all of us. It's on the external metaphysical field, and therefore it is objective, and we can critique it and analyze it and discuss whether, in fact, those words ought to be embraced, affirmed, negated, or what else, you know? But the internal metaphysical field, I agree, cannot be observed. There is no ultimate explanation for everything because not everything is explained through the same mechanism. There is a couple of fundamental explanations for certain aspects of self that provide some exclusivity. And those are the ones that I'm attracted to because those are the ones that can be logically, deductively established. So because cognitive functions say they have this quality of exclusivity that if you are an ESFP or an ENFP, you're going to do really badly on this TI test, for example. And if you do that badly on the TI test, you can't be anything but those two. Now, this is a good thing because you can falsify it. You can show me somebody who's clearly not an ESFP or an ENFP who still gets TI polar, and then you can falsify my whole idea. Now, it's not as cleanly falsifiable as we'd like it to be, but it's still a lot more falsifiable than anything else out there. So it's why we choose this one. Make a video that compares Jungian typology versus the Big Five. I can't stand all the MBTI debunking videos that completely ignore cognitive functions and then say Big Five is a better tool.
See,
I can't stand that shit either. It's complete bullshit.
I totally agree.
I have made videos like that before, but I will make another one today probably, in which I explain why the Big Five is meaningless and metaphor. The funny thing is, people think the Big Five is more scientific than cognitive functions, when the Big Five is nothing but fucking metaphor. People don't have those attributes. They aren't things people possess. So it's obscene and absurd to think that they would claim scientific high ground. Talk about TI fucking butt fucker your head up the ass. That's what TE head up the ass looks like. TE head up the ass looks exactly like the Big fucking Five. You force me to go smoke a cigarette with your provocative comment there, Chatter.
And it's here with empty houses. You look into the world, indicates I have to be rich to attract a partner. So my chart actually says that I am not suitable for relationship, despite the fact that I know, like since I was like a little kid, all I wanted to be was happy in a relationship. So it's like, I find myself taking that information, right? Okay, so my birth chart says I'm not made for relationships, right? So what it does is make me actually work on relationships way more because I'm aware of the fact that maybe I'm not great in a relationship. So like, I try to take it as constructive criticism and grow from it rather than like taking it literally word for word and not living my own life with free will. Like, just because it says that you need to marry rich doesn't mean that that will actually occur. South Node in Libra, sign of relationships. So really, okay, so the advice that like a lot of internet sites would say is that if your South Node is in Libra, that means that you actually have to focus on yourself more. And then like you'll derive some satisfaction in life, and then relationships will come to you. But this is all, it's just all advice. You can dismiss it and just like live your life and take the information that you have and use it as you please. Ingeteer, I doodle the houses and draw cartoon. I cannot hold the info in my head first unless I have a visual and a cartoon. That way, personification remains with me and creates a picture portraits. So do you like to doodle, for instance, Mom? You could end up with someone who is rich and interior. It's possible. But the thing is, say you're out dating and you date someone who is rich. You find out that he has money, but then like you find out that you're like, when you compare the birth charts and make a synastry chart, that it's actually like not that good of a relationship. So in that moment, you might, you just move with the wrong person. But you could end up with someone who's rich, after living life. Like, it's not dictated. You can't dictate your life on astrology. At HQ Air Defense, I did caricatures as deploying. That's really nice. Anyone who has to go to any sort of military, camp or destination enjoys a visual.
T is reductive in the sense that it inadequately, if not inaccurately, labels certain traits and attributes as being one or two different poorly defined dimensions and merely an analog to cognition. Well, I would say that the Big Five does that. Yeah, you're okay. You correct yourself. You're a TI user, David Sanderson. That's the thing. It's like I can deal with all these people who debunk and tell them in a moment's notice a lot of shit about themselves after I watch a little bit of their thing and say, okay, look, this is who you are and how you are, man. They have Big Five sub traits that are more lucid in detail. I mean, even so, you're still doing a description of self-reporting. In other words, it's like, hey, look, if you put all these ingredients in the bowl, it makes a cake. Well, yeah, but that doesn't really tell you anything about the person. It's like, I did my results and I got low conscientiousness and high openness and high, I don't even remember, I think I got high extrovert and high openness, low neuroticism, low conscientiousness, and high agreeableness. The thing is, I'm not that agreeable, and I'm actually pretty conscientious about a lot of things. But I scored as obscenely low on conscientiousness. Because, of course, if a TI user asks those questions, they're going to answer it in a certain way. If a TE user asks those questions, they're going to answer them in a different way. And the test doesn't account for that. I take the questions literally. I answer them as they are asked. And, of course, my reality would require vastly more nuanced questions with vastly more possible answers to even remotely begin to accurately describe me. The fact is, whether I'm agreeable or conscientious depends mostly on the circumstance, and it's not a part of me, right? So when somebody brings up the Big Five being a better tool, even though they didn't even assert that, they're just pointing out that some people do assert that, I cease to be agreeable, right? Is this agreeable? I mean, I'm not like throwing a shit fit or anything, but I'm obviously being negationary and critiquing all those people with forthright Piao. ISTPs can be good debaters as long as they don't have to go up against somebody with extroverted intuition in the one or two. Because as soon as you catch them off guard with something they haven't thought about before, as soon as you surprise them, they're toast. I've coached enough ISTPs to know this. They can learn and they can be decent, but they cannot come up with shit on the fly to answer anything. Yes, you would resist coming to multiple conclusions and seeing them as equally valid, or it would be difficult for you to withhold judgment. I'm somebody who's constantly withholding judgment in some sense because everything is in the metaphysical world, so everything somehow is conditional. Now, it may be conditional on a lot of other shit. It's also conditional, but it's very settled in which case it ceases to be very conditional. But it's still ultimately about conditionality. The ISTP gets the conditionality aspect of things, no problem. The TI don't. And they're extremely successful at a lot of scholastic stuff. But debate is an area where their ceiling is low. Right. Yeah, they hate metaphysical argumentation. As soon as the NE user shifts up a frame and says, well, let's meta up and critique your actual frame here, ISTP melts into a puddle. They don't know how to do frame critique. They can't do it because it requires too much ideation. That's the specialty of NETI is frame fluidity. I can go up and down frames infinitely, and they just can't.
Oh, your violet stripes, or is that what it looks like on the screen?
This is, I'd call this dark green.
Mm-hmm.
And tan or brown, I guess is brown.
Yeah.
And then light green. So I'm not sure how it looks on your end. On this end, it looks pretty much like it looks in real life, I guess.
Pretty much.
It's a Jeep shirt. And I don't know where I got this shirt or why I have it, but
it's a polo shirt. That is correct. Yes, that is the technical term for your shirt or the design.
Oh, you mean because it's got a collar and short sleeves?
And
And these 3 buttons? Okay.
Yeah. Ooh.
As having certain meanings associated with them or statuses associated with them. And for the reason ISTP is always going to be much better negating something as long as they already know the subject well. And then they can negate successfully. They'll only be successful affirming if the person negating them is weak, because the AF has to be prepared for a lot of different kinds of responses. If I'm affirming something, people can negate it in infinite different possible ways. All you need to do to negate is to prevent somebody from affirming. The burden is on the AF to substantiate what they're affirming. So it's like for an ISTP, if they're affirming, they're in trouble because they're going to have to field responses that they haven't prepared for, aren't anticipating. If they're negating, then they can just look for the path where there's a problem and try to pierce, you know? Right. They don't look. The thing is, to the extent if they're affirming, if they're the one making a case for something, if they need to have really anticipated absolutely everything or had a good coach, you know. I've coached plenty of ISTPs. You can coach them; they're very coachable, but they're continually looking for the one argument that's the winning argument. But that's not how things work. It never works that way. Even my ENTP kid still does this shit. He's like, well, what did they go this? What did they go this? But because he's an ENTP, he comes up with the actual possible things, you know. What did they go this? 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 I say, look, dude, those are all examples of some category of answer. You already understand how to deal with a category of answer. And you can make that link. So what are you even asking me for? Or is it possible somebody might try to say this totally random thing? Yeah, well, okay. then you say this, or you say that, or whatever. But the thing is, he's learning that you don't go into a debate actually having prepared for every argument and having an actual answer for every argument. You go into a debate having prepared for categories of arguments and knowing generally where you're going and how to yeah. I mean, it's like it's not about, for a real debater, it's not about prep, because life has prepped you enough. You've got so much information, you just, my SI even in fourth slot has retained so much debate information and so little other information that I don't need to research it. You can throw me into any debate, anytime, anywhere, about anything, just about, and I'll win it. Mrs. Mom says, Rachel, I had a home with yellow and green walls like in your room back in Florida. Our pool was inside of the house, and I had the inside walls painted yellow and then green on the cross walls. This is light green and white. There's not actually any yellow. This is a light green color, kind of avocado. The couch is yellow-ish, kind of gold. But the other color is white. Like the color of the ceiling here is white. Good night, there is no spoon. Good night. But it's only 1:30 in the afternoon here in Hawaii. If cognitive functions were superpowers and slot position determined strength, what would they be? Well, I mean, TI would be defensibility, Are you talking about magical powers? Conjuration, summoning. Oh, okay. Well, let me think about it that way then. Well, okay, so NI would be what's called scrying. Scrying, okay? So NI is scrying. If you want to have the true answer appear in your magical pool when you say the words over it, the image of the magical pool will be the true answer, then you need SE would be like I guess teleportation, maybe. The guy has solid TI and reads a lot, but thinks that hypotheticals are dumb, and the only things that matter are language, logic, and empirics. Imagination is of no importance or utility to them. Well, I mean, the thing is, that will continue to happen until whoever the person is gets his ass thoroughly whooped time and again by somebody who's got extroverted intuition. SE super speed, well, I was thinking blinking. Blink from one place to another. It's kind of equivalent to super speed. I would say FE is charm, FE, it's like, it's kind of like Jigglypuff's power, puts you to sleep when you sing the Jigglypuff song. Jigglypuff, Jigglypuff. You sing the Jigglypuff song, you're using FE. FI, FI would be like a cursed item. You put on a ring thinking it's going to give you the power to shoot fireballs, and turns out to be a cursed ring, -1. You can't take it off. TE would be like, the magical spell light. It's dark in here. I'm going to cast light. The worst people debate who scored willingly spar is someone who is the ISFP. They are the worst. ESFPs are also terrible. ESFPs like Cloud did, yesterday, coming and saying, he thinks this is a debate. You're an ESFJ, Eric. Okay, well, why do you think I'm an ESFJ? Because you show so much more FE than anything else here. Okay, but again, you're just watching the live streams, and I'm going to be more interface heavy here. And what qualities do you think you're identifying as demonstrative FE. And if it is in fact the case that I show more FB here than would be appropriate for an ENTP, then have you also calculated in the rest of my videos that I'm not live streaming? And of course, so what does he do? He drops that point of attack and starts in another point of attack that doesn't even, it's not even consistent with the first point of attack. In other words, it doesn't respect severance. In debate, we have this thing called severance, where that argument imposes upon you until and unless you kick it. And kicking it requires you to acknowledge that you were wrong about it. And of course, ESFPs don't do that. ISFPs are the same way. ISFPs are incredibly stubborn. They're less likely to be completely inconsistent, but they'll continue to try to use TI to win their argument, but it's always in service of their FI. When I've typed ISFPs who don't want to be ISFPs, I argued with one chick for like 3 hours after she paid me to type her, and I talked to her about it for like, a couple hours. Then Spacey and somebody else talked to her about it. Like Spacey and Susie talked to her about it for an hour or something. Finally, Susie gave up. And it was just like, that's FI, the thing you're doing, ISFP. You're doing FI right now. The fact that you don't actually care about which words are most consistent, but just care about the words that are consistent with what you want. That's FI. ISFJs don't debate. ISFPs will if they feel like they know what they want, for sure. What type is Kesha? I would assume an SFP, either E or I. I don't know. I've never heard her be interviewed or anything. Her lyrics don't seem very NFP-like.
No.
They seem much more SFP-like.
I don't know if she even write. I don't know. I don't know much about her. I shouldn't comment.
Yeah, I'd have to see some interviews with her and stuff. Your phone corrected to Kesha to Jesus. Yeah, I think Kesha's probably an ESFP. But I don't see that kind of ideation, the extroverted intuition kind of ideation in Ethan. It's like, again, though, we don't know how much she's managed by other people. I agree Kendrick Lamar is an INFJ. I think he's one that I feel quite confident about typing him as an INFJ. I have no qualms about saying Kendrick Lamar is an INFJ. And you can just tell by his artistic instincts. They're so much better than so many other people. He's so much better, right? He's so vastly superior to most other rappers. And you can hear it right at the beginning of King Kunta. I got a bone to pick. Then just nothing. Just silence, just no rapping. He starts with, I got a bone to pick. He just leaves it sitting there, like he should. Like he's smart. He understands fucking aesthetics. And then after a long pause of no rapping, then he goes, I'm tired of these monkey mouth motherfuckers sitting in my throne again. I'm mad, but I ain't stressed. True friends. It's like that's
another thing. Yeah.
How powerful is that? It's so much more powerful than most rappers because his aesthetics are right.
Yeah, right. Like he in the song basically confesses he doesn't write the whole thing. He has a ghostwriter.
I don't think that's it. I don't think that's what he's saying there. But see, that's another thing that makes him brilliant. Is it's ambiguous.
I think he's saying half of it because you're not supposed to. You're as a
rapper with a ghostwriter?
So Kesha,
what the fuck happened?
So Kesha, if she has a ghostwriter, like Katy Perry has a ghostwriter, you never hear about her ghostwriter. She'll never see she has a ghostwriter. You're not supposed to.
Well, that's why they're ghosts.
Right. They're probably best as ghosts too.
Yeah, ISFPs won't successfully do that. Did anyone see Eminem at the Oscars last night? They said with no host, he just arrived and began singing an old song, and everyone was like, huh? The ghostwriter line is meant to be about Drake. In other words, Kendrick Lamar is dissing Drake. Right.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
Cool. That's good to know.
I
think Drake is terrible. Drake is an ESTP.
Is he?
He's got to be. He's got no creativity, but he's got lots of FE third slot, and he's got lots of. He's TI, so he's not making terrible mistakes. He's logical
got a
about his
network
art.
of friends too. Like he was in that other in sicko mode, like with Travis Scott.
Oh yeah, right. There's something about me and INFPs that just constantly clash. My dad is one, and boy, we had some arguments, some heated arguments. Well, if you're an ESTP, that makes absolutely perfect sense because your tool function is your polar is their dominant, and their polar is your dominant, and that's just a nightmare, you know. Have anyone heard from Countess or Dark Phoenix, Eileen, Jean Grey lately? They haven't been quieter than I've had you here yet. I mean, I'm in the same place I always was. But Countess, I think, is upset about what happened on the Facebook group. I don't blame her for being upset about that, but she's probably making a point, I guess. I don't know. As far as Eileen, I don't know what's up with Eileen. I haven't seen her around for a while. People come and go, you know. It's the nature of the beast. Yeah, but Kendrick Lamar, he's like everything about him screams INFJ. Like in that Humble song, when he talks about, you know, show me ass with stretch marks. He's both, you know, sort of embracing the dominant paradigm, which in rap, which has to do with a lot of sex, you know, but undermining it concurrently. And that whole song is epically INFJ, telling himself to sit down and be humble. You know, it's fantastic. It's brilliant. It's a metaphysician's work.
And he uses the word bitch neutrally. It's not specifically for women. It's also for people who are just being a fucking bitch.
And he's referring to himself in that song.
Yeah.
As a
Yeah.
bitch. Really, it's like, yeah, he embraces and subverts the dominant rap paradigm concurrently, which is what all good metaphysicians do. Yeah, he just gets it. He gets art. INFJs get it. It's why one of the things that I was astonished by when I first got with Rachel was that maybe for the first time ever, I trusted somebody to make media recommendations to me. I don't like to watch what other people suggest I watch, ever. It's never, people get me wrong all the time. But see, the thing is, Rachel wasn't trying to pick something that I would like. She said, this is actually good. So since you have good taste as well, Eric, you will probably like it. And, you know.
And I know what not to show you too. Like I take into consideration, you know,
But like with music, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, our taste in music is so right on point with each other. It's amazing. And she likes my music, which is important to me. And I believe her when she says she likes it.
Yeah.
And she likes some things better than others, which is appropriate. You know, some of it is better than others. So,
yeah, but I really do like your music. It gets stuck in my head all the time. And some of the pop music on the radio station doesn't even do that to me.
Yeah, that's one thing that me and my ESFJ girlfriend are never on the same page about good music. Yeah, that's troublesome. It is really troublesome because I've never been with somebody before who mistakenly believed it didn't matter to me before. You know, Kimberly didn't like any of my music. She thought it was terrible. She thought everything I did was terrible. And I used to think it didn't matter to me whether my girlfriend liked my music or not. You know, it was fundamentally wrong of me to expect somebody else to like something that I make. That in fact, it has to succeed on its own merits or it's worthless anyway. So, you know, but the thing is, what I failed to do was account for the fact that some people genuinely have bad taste. And it's not an indication to me that my thing is failing if they don't like it, right? It's just an indication to me that they have bad taste.
That's what that's what I think as well. Like
Thanks for his moves.
I really appreciate that I can show you different forms of entertainment because it fills my life so much. Like I'm like a junkie when it comes to music and movies, like and television shows too. But I'm so far from television because it's really starting to get a little bit lax in the quality. But that's a bonding thing for me. So I feel safe with sharing stuff that I care about with you, and it's important.
I don't know bass nectar or excision or downlink or Skrillex.
Oh, Skrillex.
I don't know any of those people, so I don't know. Maybe I've heard some of their stuff, but not realized it was theirs. It's possible.
Skrillex did "Where Are You Now" with Justin Bieber. Where are you now?
I'm sure I know that song. My taste in music has been described by more than one person as creepy carnival music. Well, Mujin, if you are an INTJ, INTJs have typically very specific taste in music.
Yeah.
And they typically like a certain sort of thing and judge harshly things that don't live up to their standards. I personally don't necessarily agree with INTJ's taste in music. Like, I think they tend to like things that are too NE. I knew an INTJ, for example, was a big fan of the Dave Matthews Band.
That surprises me.
I mean, the Dave Matthews Band, it does tend to make me vomit blood because it's so awful.
ENFJs like
ENFJs, ESFJs,
and INTP likes Dave Matthews Band too because it can play it easily on their guitar. It's so generic.
INTP likes Dave Matthews Band and everything else in the world, as long as it's different from what they heard yesterday. It's like they don't understand that music doesn't work like that. You're supposed to develop a repertoire of good shit that you like and not always try to find something different.
And for ENFJs, it's more like a hippie party, like a party where you go. Like Dave Matthews Band is a experience. It's a big venue usually. They have a large band. It's like the Deadheads.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, it is like the Deadheads. People falling around. The thing is, their music doesn't keep evolving. It's always the same worthless pile of extroverted intuition. There's no.
Adam Sandler are like good friends.
Okay, well, I mean, my point is, his music is terrible because he's countervaluing introverted intuition all the time.
Yeah.
You can hear it in everything he's doing.
Is that still running?
I don't know. INTJs, here's the thing about INTJs. INTJs value extroverted intuition a lot, but unlike INFJs, they don't have extroverted feeling as a tool function. So their NI isn't universal, it's particular. And especially, it tends to be, I guess the word would be debased. It tends to be debased by TE. Like, INTJs can be impressed by good musicianship, as though that were relevant to anything. You know, good music and good musicianship correlate very, very weakly.
Correct.
Incredibly weakly. And so if you're an INTJ and you're impressed by, like Jeremy was, by Dave Matthews Band's tightness and the mix and the excellent production of the whole thing and the way you can hear everything and stuff like that and how good all the musicians they are, you're missing the fucking forest for the tree. It's like, but the music sucks. Who fucking cares about that other shit?
You know, and it's funny because if they're not appreciating a band like that, they're in a band like that.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of music, Bacon. I listen to all kinds of music. It's true, I don't listen to quite as much music as I used to because I make more music now. I listen to more of my own music now than I used to, but I still listen to a lot of random shit. I like being introduced to new music if it's good. I like finding new songs that I like, but it's a track-based thing. I don't really, in general, like artists. I really like this artist, so I'm going to find their new music. In general, I like to find tracks that I like a lot, and sometimes there'll be multiple tracks by a single artist that make my list. But and if that's the case, then I respect that artist more. But it's I don't really like instrumental music either when it's involved. Sometimes there's a certain mood that it's appropriate for. I only have like one song that doesn't really have lyrics called Simplify, and the only lyric in it is Simplify. Yeah, it's difficult to find music you like in general. There's so much music out there, and it seems like there's less clarity amongst people about music than there is about some other media. Like, you know, there's not a lot of people who would disagree that, like, you know, a TV show like Rick and Morty is a good TV show or something. You're either going to like it or you're not going to watch it at all. Or you're not going to have any opinion about it. Music's a lot different. People have a very individualized relationship with music. And the reason it's so different is because for most people, music is something you listen to over and over again. It has replayability that other media just don't have. I mean, it's what makes it the most important and the truest and the most universal and the most meaningful art form of all, is that a good work of music has nearly infinite replayability. And there's no other medium that even comes close in terms of replayability. And it's why we can understand that, you know, the truest art of the human soul, the truest art of time, which is what makes humans human, is their capacity to persist as an identity across time. The truest art of time is music. And so the greatest accomplishment a person can make artistically can only be made in that medium, really. Music doesn't need your complete focus. You're right. I mean, the thing is, music is one of those great things that you can appreciate it in different contexts and in different ways and different levels of attention. You can pay attention to different things in the same song and different listens. How can you explain to an anti-polar person that there is such a thing as good or bad music taste? You can't, really. You're never going to get that across to an ESTJ or an ESFJ that anytime there's a singular determinant factor that excludes all other considerations, they're going to have trouble with that. Even if it's almost like a TI thing. Like when my dad was going through his identity theft, and I tried to explain why this possible concern of his is like third slot extroverted intuition, coming up with ways in which his TE plan might go awry. That this particular consideration was determinant. That no, in fact, there's no way the identity thefts could have, for example, hijacked the neighbor's landline, which he hypothesized was possible. And I tried to explain to him that no, this isn't possible. What you're talking about is not a realistic possibility. There are determinate factors that make this impossible. He really didn't. It never got through to him that therefore he could stop worrying about that possibility. You know.
Hey, Dad, I'm gonna sign in real fast. What time is school supposed to start tonight?
We're supposed to be there. Supposed to have all four of us there between 4:30 and 4:45.
Okay.
Granddaddy's there.
All right. Cool.
So it's currently 2:00. I think in a little bit in this lecture, Rachel and I are gonna maybe go fishing for an hour and then come back in a minute. We'll head over there.
I'll be getting ready soon.
Okay. Do you want to come live stream with me for a minute? Come on. You pal.
No, I took a shower. I went to bed at 4:30. I'll start taking a shower now-ish.
It's 2. It takes you 2.5 hours to take a shower.
Yeah, well, it's only I can do my makeup.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Fine, be that way. Fucking ESTPs. God, Delilah, stop being such an ESTP. Come out here and extrovertedly intuit with me. What are you doing? God, what's wrong with my daughter? Oh, she's just an ESTP. Okay, fine. I can live with that. she's such a, it's like in a lot of ways she doesn't meet any of the normal stereotypes of ESTP, really. Not a lot of them. Although the story of her trip to Mexico was kind of crazy to hear. Sometimes you have to hear a track a lot of times before you can settle in on your opinion on it as well. That sounds like and I ignoring Reese Moose. That sounds a lot like me. Are you an ENTP? Or are you an INFJ? You've got to be one of the two. NE can be crude and edgy for its own sake because it likes to break boundaries. Does Taylor meet the ESTP stereotypes? He's pretty ESTP stereotypical. Because most of the ESTP stereotypes are for male ESTPs too. They're not about female ESTPs who play out somewhat differently. Delilah's kind of different from my friend Sarah, who's another female ESTP I know. Sarah is a little bit more stereotypically ESTP perhaps, but I mean, I just see Delilah just not being ultimately very intuitive. She thinks about regular things all the time. She talks about regular things all the time. She's just not that interested in metaphysics. I mean, she's interested in my explanations as long as they resolve questions for her and provide her the advocacy she's advocating. This is the difference between ESTP and ANTP as well. Yesterday, Delilah and I think it was yesterday, talked a little bit about my being pro-life and how she was saying how she would no longer be able to argue both sides of that because it would be wrong. She would only argue the pro-choice side of it. And I said, but Delilah, and she said, I'm sure you have lots of good arguments or whatever, but I'm not interested in hearing. Okay, well, the thing is, that's ESTP TI. It's not interested so much in the universals, like as objects of analysis on the external metaphysical field. She's much more interested in those objects on the internal metaphysical field only. So it's like if she's quite convinced that she is on the side of pro-choice, then she's not interested in learning all the argumentation to the contrary necessary, because the reason one learns argumentation is to successfully, correctly advocate or negate something, and not for having all the advocacy at your disposal.
Well, I think it comes to be too personal to debate for her.
Yeah, probably. I mean, you normally associate that with FI. She's definitely not FI. I mean, she's definitely TI, but I guess it has to do with being raised by me too. It's like, if you're raised by me, you've sat through too many lectures about how, no, that position is not an adequate one to maintain unless you also argue this, and this. And if you don't argue all those things, you can't make that advocacy. If you want to make that other advocacy, you need to write about it. She's had too much of that for me. She just doesn't want any more of that for me,
It's in the media, it's in the media, it's everywhere now. So it's like, it's hard not to form an opinion on that. I see where she's coming from with a lot of it too. It's a hot fucking topic.
Yeah. What do you think the MBTI of the South Park creators are? Well, I mean, there's the main guy and there's the other guy. The main guy is an NTP, one of the two guys, INTP or ENTP, probably ENTP. But the other one is probably another alpha plotter, maybe like an ISFJ or something. ESFJ.
Yeah, because my sister's favorite is Kyle, and Kyle is the one with the big hair and glasses, one of the creators.
Yeah, but the thing is, only one of the creators is the actual creator. Like one of the guys writes everything,
Yeah.
comes up with all the ideas,
I think that's
and the other guy is just there to do some of the voices. And he was there in the
they're
beginning.
buddies.
Basically, yeah, his buddy was involved in this project with him from the outset, and so he's still equal partner as far as the ENTP is concerned, because that's fair.
Yeah.
I think the main guy's an
yeah,
ENTP.
I think so. He's the main. He's Stan. The creator dude is Stan. Stan is always the character where I'm like, I always see his point, and then he gets dragged into the mud. He's not wanting to get dragged into, and then he forms a different.
And everyone's like, Stan,
afterwards.
can we not have another speech at the end of this,
Yeah.
please? We need another speech about learning everything. We don't want that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the amount of like self-critique in that whole show, like the way that everything he himself believes, he subjects to critique.
Yeah.
Is indicative of ENTP. He might say he's an INTP, he's wrong. He's an ENTP. I'm quite convinced of it. The other guy, I'm not sure about. Jung comes off as an INTP, bullshit. He comes off as an INFJ 100%. I watched a big interview of him. I typed into the video of me typing Jung. He's an INFJ, no doubt about it. Yes, we do. Why don't we go smoke it? And why don't we wrap this up? Go smoke it. And go do a little fishing?
Yeah. Something to talk about. Maybe one of your shirts. With your shorts.
I'm probably ENTP, Ruzma says. To compare, I have an INFJ friend that I say is a real good human being, but he doesn't really think so, while I sometimes jokingly say I should be the world's standard human being.
Sounds.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I might say that too. And I might think Rachel's fantastic, but if you really get down to it and you start talking to the INFJ, they don't really have that kind of self-satisfied self-concept. ENTPs do. I'm pretty self-satisfied. It's like, I am the shit. I am the shit. Yeah, but ENTPs walk around like that until someone goes, you're not the shit. And you go, hey, you hurt my feelings. Hey, why you totally hurt my feelings.
Every single fucking time. And like it would be like there's like data to back up like the coolness.
Okay, fine. Fig, I'm not disputing that. You may be absolutely correct that the one that doesn't have the good ideas has all the best voices. That might be very well the case. I don't dispute that if he is an ESFJ or ISFJ, he's going to be better with different voices than the ENTP, probably.
He's definitely, and if they're activity partners, man, that definitely is a good fucking business relationship. The dude just has to write the ideas down and talk a little bit, and then the friend does all the other voices. Sounds like a fun
the
activity.
ESFJ gets told, like, now you get to be creative with your third slot any here, and here.
Yes,
and then
exactly.
the ESFJ goes, wee, and I'll do these voices, and then the ENTP does everything else. That's perfect. Yeah. Perfect for media making.
Yes.
I mean, I would too, Mugen, except unfortunately, if the creator of the system was also not their wheelhouse, he got the gist of it. He got the brilliant idea. And he did selfish, half-assed third slot TI on it. Jung. Self-serving, half-assed third slot TI on it. It's brilliant, but it's wrong in its current in the way he presented it. And he doesn't care really that it's wrong because it's just metaphor for him. It's when people realize, MBTI people like Myers and Briggs realize at some point, hey, there's more to this than metaphor.
Yeah.
For
the archetypes?
Yeah, like Jung wants it to be all about archetypes. Jung's idea isn't even about really cognitive functions. It's about archetypes and how you archetypally are meow. Of course, Jung's going to identify as a TI user. But he's not. He's an NI. I mean, he is a TI user, but he's not a TI dom. He's an NI dom. That's why there's so much archetypal stuff in there, right? The collective unconscious. Come on, that's textbook fucking introverted intuition notion. That the reason that there's a singular true path is because there's a collective unconscious. There's no collective unconscious. That's complete nonsense. But it is true that the human experience is somewhat universal. That doesn't mean that there's some sort of shared consciousness that exists outside of being born and raised in a society. It's insane. But that's the sort of NI conclusion NI DOMs are going to draw. And it doesn't change the fact that the idea was fundamentally more brilliant than anything a TI DOM could ever come up with. So, give the guy full credit for what he's done, and don't try to give him credit for what he utterly failed to do, which is TI parse the shit properly. Meow is all I have to say about that. So that's it. See you later. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. And if you do, eat twice as much cheese next time. We'll be back later for more exciting Talking with Famous People. Bye.